was where all the circuses and carnivals and everything, all the circuses, all the animals used to come.
Carnivals and
put the big tents
used
up
to
there.
set up in that field.
My father used to put a tank out here where the elephants, the zebras, the giraffes, all the animals used to drink out of it, you know. And they'd tell my father, we'll give you passes to go to the circus. My father said, I don't need passes. He said, I need money. So they'd have to pay him.
Yeah.
So they'd always pay him for the water. He'd keep it filled and all the animals would come there. You'd hear the lions yelling.
Elephants and
How would they get all the animals there? On trucks?
On truck. They'd
Yeah.
come in with trains, and then they'd pull them in with trucks. These big, what do you call it?
decorated. They were decorated wagons. And
Yeah,
trucks.
big wagons and stuff they'd pull in there. And then we'd try to help put up the big tents, giant tents, you know.
We used to help put it up.
And then we'd
Free
get free
ring
tickets
circus,
to
they
see
call
that.
it.
Anyway, this is getting to how everything got started. All right. Now this giant field is there. Now we'd go walk down to here, down the road that went this way. Along here was a road that went along the river. This was the bridges. This is the old bridge. This is the new bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a big dump on this side of the road. Big dump. We used to go down here, and right down here was a big woods and stuff. And then there was a big pond here, and this is the river coming past.
The pond used to flood during the spring. You know, when they when the
Yeah.
big thaws, big icebergs would be coming down the river. With all that below the dump, we were right below the dump. That hole would fill up with water. And then when it recedes, the water didn't have nowhere to go.
Right.
And that's where we used to swim.
And in that place there, what I want, we had bunks and tree huts and everything
Yeah.
like that. When we were hungry, we'd go walk down to the farms. These were all farms all along the river. They grew everything.
Yeah.
We'd go down and get tomatoes or
We'd
get
be walking down the
corn.
river, but in the summertime, you never think we were white. We were so
You're
bright.
in the sun so much.
Yeah, and whatever was growing in the farms, that's what we ate.
Unless one time up here where our house was, the truck, the bakery truck that had pies and everything else stopped
The
right
bakery
here.
trucks was, if
So
they
we-
didn't lock up.
We're watching that truck. Anyway, we went in there and they swiped the whole box of pies. The whole box,
A whole
the
bunch.
whole crate of them. So
We were
took
having
them all
a
down
pie fight.
to our place down along
Yeah,
the
we
river.
were having a pie fight.
Yeah, we only could eat so many pies. That's a lot,
Good
man. We're
God,
busting
yeah.
with pies. Before you know it, you get
That's it. Everybody get
Yeah.
into it. And there was about 8 of us. We were in the group. You know,
Neighborhood
whenever
kids.
we were neighborhood kids. Whenever we got together, and this pond we used to swim in, like I said, and the water went out. It was all coal dust, silt they call it, cold silt. And that's where we used to swim. And we used to, one guy would be on this side of the bank and we'd be on this side of the pond. And we used to fight for who's going to get the island. But we had a mud fight.
the guys on the island and make all their mud balls and everything. And this side had to go over there. As soon as you touch the island, then they have to dive
They
off.
have to dive
and their
off.
turn to come over, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd make the mud balls. Guys got hit in the mouth swimming.
Yeah, yeah. They said, ah, you didn't get me, Hope.
Hit in the eyes, you know, everything else.
Oh, I tell you, Corby couldn't see. I can't see.
But this dump, you could find everything under the sun on it. We used to find antiques. I found a box this big, full of coins. Even gold coins were in there. I just about could drag it. Now
I was on the
this
bottom.
hill.
I was on the bottom of the dump, and he was up in the middle of the dump, and he was hollering, "Andy, look what I found! Our money!"
Yeah, I'm dragging it up to the top, you know.
I said,
little at a
"Shut
time.
up!" I said,
You couldn't
And
hear
him-
nothing. The guys,
Heard
these
'em-
bums used to
Heard
live
him
in
say
this.
money,
Yeah.
and that did it. They
Really?
got him, threw him over the bank.
Yeah, threw me over the bank. I'm hitting cans, bottles, and everything all the way down. So they got my whole box of money. Boy, you could hardly move it.
But we got even.
So
We
That
burned
night-
we burned her place down.
that night we says, well, we'll fix these darn guys. We stuck down there in the dark, built a fire under the shanty. We went up where we could watch the fire here from these trees, and no, we didn't see anybody running out, so they probably was spending the money they
Right.
swiped from me. But
Yeah.
we burned it down anyway.
And then one day we were swimming there, and we were coming up from swimming, about 3 or 4 of us coming up from swimming. And this old lady coming down the road from Exeter side, she's coming down the road. She said, "You gotta be ashamed of yourself." I said, "What do we do?" She said, 5 girls just drowned it. Yeah. They were swimming in the bad part of the river, the part that goes around the island.
Yeah.
where
The
it
big
deep
island here.
and it's real swift and what do they call them when it goes
A
like that, the
whirlpool.
water? Yeah,
Whirlpool.
whirlpools,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and it's deep.
Yeah.
Bad part of the damn river to negotiate.
Yeah.
And these girls, when they found them, of course, this one guy, the one that got her out, I can't help it. They were all hanging on each other.
Oh.
Yeah, where they were trying to, 2 of the best swimmers were trying
Wow.
to save the rest. And they all grabbed each other,
Wow.
they just sunk, they all went down.
Wow.
But there's 2 parts of history to that.
Mm-hmm.
That big island, it's like this, and the water that goes this way and this way.
Yep.
It's so swift, you have to be an excellent swimmer.
Yeah.
We used to swim across on that side all the time. It didn't bother us. But another thing that happened in years later when we went to the service and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
when the mines caved in, the mine right here caved in.
Right
Here's the island.
right below the hospital.
Yeah.
No, it was down a little farther. Below our diving board. Where the water went this way and this way, it caved in right here. We went down that time to see the giant hole, bigger than my yard.
Big whirlpool.
And the water was just,
They have
Oh.
and
Is that why the river's bad?
they have
no,
a plaque.
what happened there is it was flooding all the mines out.
Oh.
All the mines was getting flooded out. So they couldn't stop that water from going. They had to get the Corps of the Army Engineers to come in.
That was right alongside the railroad tracks, so they had to detour the railroad tracks.
Well,
There
for
was a lot
no-
of dirt to put in and run the tracks
well,
so
first,
they could dump the stuff in the hole. Whole box cars.
yeah,
Wow.
but no.
Right in the hole.
First,
Wow,
what they
to
had to
clog
do.
it.
First, the first thing the Corps of Engineers did, they had to redirect the river around this part of the island.
Wow.
This was the main part of the river, but they did block it off where the river went like that,
Mm-hmm.
so they could get to the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Now they ran tracks all the way to the hole, in whole boxcars, hundreds of them, just go. Wow, wow.
They just dump the trains right in.
The whole works would go in there till eventually they
Boxcars and all.
stopped it.
Right in.
Then they had these big ukes go in there with giant rocks, big giant boulders and stuff. That was the second course
Wow.
that went in there till they got it pretty well up, Then they got cement trucks, hundreds of cement trucks to go in there and cap all that off. Till eventually they
sealed
blocked
the
it
hole.
off.
Wow. And did they continue to use the mines?
No, they're still flooded out.
And that's where
Really?
exactly where we used to swim. We used
Wow.
to have a diving board there.
That's all. That was all taken care of with the mines. The end of that. And then that was a little bit of history about that part of the island, which went back to the Indians coming down the river, stopping on that island. And they stopped there a lot.
And there's a plaque in Port Griffith, that's where the plaque is by the church. tell you the people that died and stuff. But anyway, come back to the river in the spring. We used to catch boats coming down. It used to break loose from up above
Yeah.
because of ice and stuff.
Pop-Up was telling me about that.
Yeah, big icebergs coming down the river, man, and everything. It was cold. And you had to, when the boat was coming down, we had to swim for it to go get it. When we, here it comes. Man, I got in the water. I flew out.
The first dive in
And
that
they knew
water.
you. They knew you would be the guys that
I
would have the
forgot who
boats.
flew
Yeah,
the boat.
they'd come
in.
down the river and find out if anybody found boats along the river. And then they'd give us a little reward.
Yeah.
which was
A
10
rowboat,
bucks
but a pretty big rowboat.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah,
And we got that. Then when we get back again to the rowboat, we all had friends shares in it and stuff. But anyway, one day we said we're gonna go to the movies. Okay, me, Joey, and a couple other guys. We went up the river, parked the boat. How we gonna get into the movies? We used to get into the movies. At 7 o'clock. We go just at 7 o'clock when the movie was exiting. All the people coming out. But one guy used to go in between the crowd to get into the movie.
it was me. I walked backwards.
That's
I
the only
think
way
I'm
you
coming out, but
Yeah, usually he'd
Walk
go in.
Yeah.
He was the smallest.
And I walked backwards, they wouldn't even notice me. Then I'd go up on the fire escape and open the top door, and everybody would pile in. And that's the night they were looking for us.
Yeah, but anyway, we stood there, watched the movies, and during the movies we had a big thunderstorm. It started raining, pouring, and we didn't get out of the movies till 11. And you think we can get back down, and that's the Swift River. We couldn't even get downstream. We were going crazy trying to get back to get on the other side. But anyway, we
So
were
you
in
crossed the
middle of
river to go to the movies.
We were in the middle of the river about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we see a big
No lights.
searchlight over on the other side. Like this. What the hell is that? I never saw that big searchlight going along the edge of the river. That's from West Pittston side, you know. And that's when we lived in West Pittston then. And we were going in anyway. The truck with the fire truck, you know. But I don't want to go too far ahead. But anyway, we got to go home. We went home, and my father was going to kill us. I didn't get nothing. He got flattened. And I went under
With
the
the
table.
coal shovel, the little coal
I went
shovel.
under my mother's dining room table, and she was my father wasn't about to do nothing there. And boy, he got it. I didn't get nothing. But we found out later that big light we saw was on a fire truck. And they were looking for us.
Wow.
Yeah. And they happened to find some clothes along the riverbank. And them clothes, they thought we drowned it. And that's why we got
Wow.
flattened.
Yeah,
Ah.
been hard for us to drown. I mean, we lived on that river.
Yeah.
But then there was a lot of places along that river. Like the time we climbed Camel's Ledge. That's what you want to do, but not easy. And I don't want. I know he could do it like nothing, but I don't want him to get hurt. What we call Camel's Ledge, and the thing about that is, up on top of Camel's Ledge, that's where the Indians used to watch the river to see other tribes, you know, coming into the valley. Because Wyoming Valley, down there around 44th and them places, Wyoming Valley was a sacred place for the Indians. You know, they fought tooth and nail over Wyoming Valley. Eventually, there was too many. That was during the time of. Later on, that was during the time of the Revolution, and we had a lot of armies. Like Sullivan's March went right through there, and then all the way along the Susquehanna, all the way up. You know that probably. Anyway, that was a good place for the Indians to watch the river before you get into Pittston. It's because they had Fort Pitt right on this side of the new bridge. They built Fort Pitt, and then from Fort Pitt, a whole bunch of forts and stuff that went down through. That's why they call it 40 fort.
Mm.
They had a bunch of forts all over the place.
Oh.
To get the Indians out of there, because they were attacked, and the settlers
Yeah.
and the pioneers, that they killed them,
Yeah.
tortured them,
Right.
killed them, and everything else. But eventually they pushed them further west. And the last fort was there in Pittsburgh, that Fort Bend. That was the last fort, but then that was been fighting back and forth with the French and Indian Wars, you know. But as for the rest of the river, we used to go up there. When you were coming down the river, you'll see a railroad bridge on the north side of Pittston, you know, up from Pittston. Well, that bridge, a railroad used to go across there pulling coal and stuff on both ways. Well, from that bridge, we used to swim up there too. We dive off the platform of the bridge.
Railroad bridge.
It's a railroad bridge, but we'd go up to the top on the girders, you know, to dive higher. Not too many dive from there. But when you go under there, if it's still the same way, you could say, yeah, my two,
We
my
used
father,
to jump off it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And that was another part of,
They call it the ferries. Another part that branched off too. We lived on we swam on the branch off side. There was an island there, and the main river was here, and that's where we used to jump off the bridge into the main river.
at the
We
ferry,
used to swim at the
yeah,
right at the ferry.
Yeah.
at the ferry, they actually had a ferry that was with a
Years
cable.
ago.
And my father would drive his old car on the what do you call it, the boat there,
Yeah.
and they'd pull you across with the cable.
Really? With a cable?
Yeah, I mean, we did hit part of the old times just by remembering that the ferry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't too long after that, then they built the new bridge right ahead of Pittston, because they had the old bridge, but up there for farmers or whoever wants to get across the river, they had to get on the ferry.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it must be pretty slow there if there's a ferry
Well,
with a cable.
it wasn't that really that slow. They had it flowed downriver, but with the cable, it would. They had it where it would confiscate for the Gulf current, where they could actually pull you across.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's something else I remember.
About what would you guys eat along the river? Any wild plants?
Just
choke cherry?
there was always truck farms all along the river on my side, on the West Pittston side. All truck farms all the way up to Exeter. Then from Exeter, it was just river. And then after you get past the ferries and stuff, then there was still some smaller truck farms up there, which we never bothered with that. We mostly did the big truck farms all the way from Exeter all the way in almost into Wilkes-Barre.
And no wild plants?
Oh, they probably did with Joe. We didn't know much about it. But we did, we used to shoot a lot of ducks and geese along the river, 22.
Did you
Yeah.
fish?
Oh, we used to fish. We used to catch a lot of our fish right in
The part we used to swim in.
yeah.
And so you'd start, well, when the water went down and when it went so low, we couldn't swim in there no more, real low, maybe only so deep. We used to go and netting the fish,
Mm.
and we used to take them and put them in the river. We'd save the fish.
Yeah, we didn't want them to die.
Yeah.
We'd net them, put them into the river. But that's about it on the river. But it's hard to say all the stuff we did on the river, but we were constantly,
What sort of fish did you eat?
anything.
Yeah.
We'd even eat catfish. Catfish. My father used to cook a lot of the catfish we take home.
Yeah.
Carp.
Down along the river, we didn't cook any fish down the river.
My
We
father
mostly,
did.
yeah, we mostly ate whatever was grown, corn. We'd boil it or we'd roast it, potatoes,
Radishes.
anything
peppers,
that we could
anything
find
we could
along
eat.
that they were growing along the river.
And you used to smoke catalpa.
Yep, catalpa.
The
Tomatoes.
bean,
Oh, the long,
the seeds,
yeah, the long seed.
and you dry them out.
No, cut them off, but they'd be on the ground, you know, we went to the ones on the trees, they'd be green. On the ground, they'd be almost brown. I get to try to smoke one of them, it'd knock you out.
Was that the Indian cigars?
Yeah.
They were terrible.
They were terrible.
It'd burn you. The smoke could burn your lips.
We used to do that, and we used to chew, they used to make the roads with the
Tar.
yeah, the hard tar. Break
tar.
off a piece of
Tar,
tar. take it.
tar before it was melted, you know.
Yeah.
It's pure tar.
We draw
And we
right
used
out.
to chew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing you still have teeth.
We used to have the saying, that'll make your teeth white.
We had good teeth at a certain point.
We were healthy as hell.
Yeah,
And
I
very
never got
seldom we ate home, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Very seldom.
So did you both work in the mines?
We
I
worked in
did.
the mine.
I put 5 years in the coal mine.
And my
Yeah,
brother
I-
Johnny worked in the coal mines. And my
I
father-
started out as the nipper. I was just opening the doors for the motor, a couple 100 feet underground. But they lived for miles underground, you know, taking the coal. Then eventually I got promoted to brakeman, you know. And I used to work with them on the motor, drag the cars and hook them up, take them out to the surface, stuff like that.
How old were you when you started?
Well, there's a little story there. I went for the job on a Monday. I used to go every Monday. And this Dockery, I'll never forget him. And I said, I like that. And when I was 16, I looked like about 12. Really. And I went for the job, and he said, well, we talked to him and stuff. He said, how old are you? I said, 21. He said, well, come back next week. Okay. And I come back next week. You'd been like that for a couple of weeks. At the end of the conversation, how old are you? I said, 21. And finally he got tired. He said, look, he said, if you tell me how old you are, he said, you could start tomorrow. And I got to think, if I tell him how old I am, he ain't going to hire me. I said, 19. He said, come in tomorrow. And the first day I was on the job, the motorman and brakeman put me by the big door to open the doors for them. And they went in to do whatever to do, take the cars in, empty or whatever. And they had to come down this big hill, and I opened the doors. Only one problem. I fell asleep.
Your first
I
day?
lost sight, and my feet were across the track. What a dummy. A lucky thing they stopped.
Yeah.
Because they could see my light just shining on the roof. No,
Yeah, you were
they didn't get mad.
So did Pa live in the
But that
work
I
in the
never
mine?
did that
My
again.
father went into mines when he was 8 years old. He worked on the breaker at 8 years old. They used to have all kids. They used to take the rock out of the coal on a
Yeah.
big conveyor belt.
All kids.
All kids. They'd go to work, their lunch pail would be dragging along the road. They were all kids.
Yeah. And he came over from Italy? It was him?
That was at the breaker, the big building, with all
Yeah.
kind of elevators, taking the rock up. And that's where the kids are the coal. They pick the rock out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he came over from Italy, that's where they first came, our family? To Pittston?
Pittston, yeah.
Yeah.
His father was here already.
A
His
lot of Italians came to Pittston, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
But his father was here and saving money to get his wife and kids over here. That's the way they used to do it. In them days, Joe, almost every house back in the 20s and before the 20s, you know, the beginning of the 30s, they all had people renting, they were called, what were they called? When they stay at somebody's house and go to work.
Boarders.
Yeah,
Boarders.
boarders. They board. They'd give them a room. There might be 4 or 5 boarders in one room, mostly to sleep in. they'd have an outside shower. Because when they got out of the mines, they didn't have shifting shandies like they did when he got there. They had to come home black, like you come out of the mines. Then they'd go in this outside shower, and they'd shower right over their clothes and out to get all the dirt and everything out. But my father then went into the mines itself about 12 years old. At 8 years old, he worked on the, and he drove mules. They only had mules back there to pull the cars.
And that's what my father was.
Yeah. And then eventually they got machines to do it.
But
Motors.
the mines is something. I was on the main drag, which the road is not bad, 6, 8 feet high. And when I worked in, they had 4 levels. And towards the end, I used to work up on the top level, only about 100 feet. And the coal there was 12 foot high. And the coal was a little softer, you know. They call it squeeze coal. And the pressure to caving in, how that would come out. And that's where I worked before I went into the service. That I was a brakeman yet.
My father was in
You'd like it. I loved the mines.
Yeah.
I couldn't work in the factory. I worked one day in the factory. I quit. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer to work in the mines.
I was very active.
Mm-hmm.
We used to make our own football teams and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
Pa,
we never lost a game.
Pa was he was injured in the mine several times.
Mm.
One time he was trapped in the mines for about a week.
Wow.
They had to dig them out. Him and a bunch of other guys. He broke his legs in the mines, his arms, his back, his nose.
Wow.
Different times, yeah, he broke a lot of.
Dangerous job.
Yep.
And then he started a restaurant.
Hmm?
Then he started a restaurant?
No, he went. In later years, he went to California. They wanted him to.
During the war.
Yeah, they wanted him to be a cook. But when he got to California, they wanted him to teach the cooks all along the whole. You know, they might have had
And
20 different.
15 chain restaurant.
Right.
Mhm.
And he'd go show them how to cook, you know, the right way and this and that. But my mother and the kids didn't want to go to California, so he finally came back. He didn't go.
But he was the head cook. He used to teach the
Yeah.
other ones how to cook Italian style.
Ah,
He was good.
I bet.
Well,
He
Pa,
could make Italian cookies, everything.
that wasn't that's what I used to tell you. That's the only guy. Joe isn't smarter as my father.
He already went
He
to
could do
everything.
anything.
He already went to the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
he had his own business, more or less. He used to make washing fluid.
Blowing, soap,
Yeah.
a couple other things
So
right in
blowing,
our own cellar.
ammonia,
Yeah.
and real powerful soap, the yellow soap,
Yeah. Yellow soap.
and bleach.
Yeah.
to make the
So he was a chemist, pretty much.
More or less.
He was a chemist on his own
Yep.
to do all this stuff.
And it
Big
wasn't
fat
easy
was in the
making it.
center.
You know, it had to take gas.
Mm-hmm.
You had to put gas into
Yeah,
the.
big
That
I
was
remember
dangerous,
one
too.
time the one tank struck a leak at the connections. You couldn't go there and knock you out. It'd probably kill you. So we're trying to figure who the hell could go down and shut that off. Remember, you know who went down that time? Corpy. We had a World War I, the gas mask. It wasn't worth nothing. I mean, it couldn't possibly work. I says, Corpy, I don't know how good that's going to work. He said, I could go down with this. He put it on. He almost died. He come up. He shut it off. But his eyes were running. He was red as a beet.
Another time the lights were out. They couldn't get in there. So they had to go in there and see what was wrong. Him and, who was
Charlie
with him?
Silva.
Charlie Silva. They went in and they could see the light. There was no light, you know, they had to take it out. So he took the light bulb out. He was on top of Charlie Silva's shoulder. And he took out the bulb and they were gonna put another one in. But by the time they let their hands down, they couldn't see where to put the plug with the light in.
Feel around, you know.
So they were feeling like this. And
I put my finger in the socket. Charlie
They
threw me in the
both
air. Yeah!
It shocked him too.
Yo, and
Okay.
he got the worst one. He hit the ground. That
yeah,
cellar
the guy
was
at the
just,
bottom gets the worst.
yeah, it was water on the cellar and everything.
Oh,
That was
wow.
a old cellar. I says, Charlie, you didn't even shut the goddamn thing. You didn't tell me to
another-
shut it off upstairs.
Another thing where we used to live was on 8 West Coast Street. You go up like this and go up into the hospital. Right below the hospital was a big, you know how it dips down. And this was in the winter. And these guys were going to go tobogganing, they call it.
Mhm.
They had an old piece of sheet iron. They curled it up, you know, to make a toboggan. And they all got on it and they were going down. Man, that's dangerous because that cliff just drops off. But they were lucky. They hit a bigger hole. They all ran into the hole. This was at night. They couldn't see shit. They hit the hole. If they went another 10 feet, they would have went
They
over
went
the
over
bank.
the
Wow.
cliff.
Wow.
But, and then my brother would tell me, we weren't on it with the older guy. He said, oh, we're bleeding. I'm on the way to Token. We're bleeding. It's all water from the bleeding.
There's water, huh?
And what names? Bobo Martin. What was his real name?
Milka.
Milky,
Yeah.
Milka.
Milka.
I forgot their real names though.
Yeah, there was another guy named Blackie.
And the next door
Bunyo.
neighbor.
There was a guy named Bunyo. All the dopey names. They were bigger guys. All them guys who eventually went to the war.
Yeah.
They were all bigger guys.
We had a lot of fun. We made our own teams whenever it was in season. If track and field, we used to make our own high jumps, everything. Our own pole vault.
And did
Yeah.
you two go to high school?
Nope.
Neither.
I already went to the 5th grade.
And Paul
I
went to the
quit.
3rd grade.
I went to 10th grade in the service, but I already went to 8th grade, 5th grade.
How about you?
16.
I went to the 11th grade, then I finished my education in the Air Force. Matter of fact, I graduated faster than my class. They graduated in 52, I graduated in 51.
And then I got drafted. I had a war job in the mines. I didn't have to go, but I did.
So if you worked in the mines, you didn't have to go.
No, not no more.
Yeah, but 6 of us went to Wilkes-Barre.
1951, at the end of 1951.
We went to Philadelphia to join the Marines. 6 of us. Nunci, 2. And we went there and we all took our tests, you know. So I figured, well, if we're going to go as a group, that's all right. And that's when the Korean War just started, which would have been tremendously dangerous to go in at that time.
Yeah.
They were sending anybody could get. They didn't have enough of people there yet. And everybody flunked except me.
Yeah, well, me, they knew I was
They
drafted.
knew he was drafted, and I was the only guy that passed. He says, well, he says, in 1 hour time, we're going to swear you in. I'm going to go to the Marines by myself. I was going to go as a group. You know, I says, we're going home.
I ain't going, he said.
No. I says, let's go home. As soon as we got home, the next day I I hitchhiked to Wilkes-Barre, and there was about 75 people down there that time to join the Air Force. They didn't want to go in the Army. Well, out of all them people, only 6 they picked out for the Air Force, that passed for the Air Force. Everybody else had to either go in the Army or they were already drafted, you know, or a couple guys made it into the Navy. But only 6 went to the Air Force. That's how everybody was thinking, I mean, if I go to Korea, they're going to kill me,
Yeah.
you know.
And I already had 6 week basic training in Fort Dix. That's what it was then, because they wanted to get you overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to Fort Sam Houston, Texas, medical training. I was over at a medic, and then I wound up in the ambulance. I volunteered for the ambulance.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
we went this whole career. I had to drive the ambulance off right in the dangerous zone. We went right to the front.
So you were in
Yeah.
Korea?
Huh?
You were in Korea?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Were you overseas though?
They shipped me
And,
down to England.
England. It's safe in England, huh?
Yeah, it was nice.
In Korea, you know, you'd get a break. They send you an R&R, rest and recuperation. I never went. I didn't want to go because most of the guys went and they brought booze back and stuff like that. And I stood there. When this one guy come back, he come back with Canadian Club whiskey. So about 4 or 5 bottles. It was winter. You know, there's snow out there about 2, 3 foot deep. We were all in this tent and we were all drinking. Man, they were drinking. Give me a helmet.
Out of the helmet.
Yeah, we drinking out of them, and I don't drink.
Yeah.
And boy, and it hit me like that. That would hit me out. So they were going to take me down to the 1st Battalion aid station. They put me in the ambulance, put me in, and didn't shut the door too good. And when they pulled out, I wound up in the snow, the litter and all. And when they got to the Battalion aid station, I wasn't in there. I never forget that.
And you just
classic.
laid there.
I threw up and everything.
You just laid there in the snow, happy.
No, we never drank. I never drank.
Yeah.
My buddy Gibson, he used to drink. He was like Hank Williams, exactly like Hank Williams. Came from Happy Creek, Virginia. I used to ask him. He says, "Joe, how about writing this letter?" I says, "Gibson, how the hell did you get in the Air Force?" He says, "My cousin took the his cousin from Happy Creek took his test for him." I used to say, the guy, I couldn't understand how the hell he got in the Air Force.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty rough to get in the Air Force. You know, you had to really do your
Yeah.
stuff good.
It's harder to get into.
Mm-hmm.
So how did Pa pass away?
Heart attack.
Oh, really?
He had a few heart attacks.
Yeah.
In fact, we lived here, you know, in that trailer here. I forgot where the hell I was, but anyway.
Miller Heights?
Yeah, he was coming home from work and the car broke down. It was winter, snow on the ground and stuff. And he got far at that restaurant at the end of the 12th Street, right there. And he's going to cross the road, and his car went over and hit him. Yeah. And we wound up in the hospital with a broken leg and whatever. And when that car hit him, he wore glasses. His glasses went up and went right over the, what do you call it?
The
The
antenna.
thing, yeah,
Yeah.
antenna. His car,
Wow.
Yeah, we lived in the project. I walked that night. It was a blizzard. I walked up to where he was hit. They had him lay him on a shuffleboard table. And the ambulance finally got through. They picked him up, but they wouldn't take anybody along with them to the hospital. So they drove off. I walked all the way back to where I lived in the project. And then I found out Ma was all alone, and I had to walk back again, all the way up to Miller Heights here, and crawl under. That's when I think the wire come off the water. You couldn't turn it on, and I had to go under there and re-hook up the electric wire on the pipe. I'll never forget that
No,
night.
my mother died rather first. She had a stroke. The first stroke she had, she was paralyzed on one side, arm, leg, speech. She had to learn how to talk again. Anyway, 2 weeks she was in a coma in the hospital. And she finally survived that. She was working at Zesto. It was an ice cream place right on the main drag going up. And she come home and she just parked her car in the middle of the head back. She just parked her car, and that's where she had her stroke, in the car. Just parked it. She had it now come up, she probably would have had an accident. But anyway, that was the first one. 15 years, she was 45 or 40? Yeah, she was 45 when she had her first stroke. And then when they lived here, she had another stroke, and she was in the hospital again 2 weeks. We were there.
Was that-
We stood in the hospital. We took turns staying in the hospital, and she died when I was there.
Was that Granny that I knew?
Yeah, Ma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met her. I was maybe a couple years old when she died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I took your mom to the hospital when she was having you. When
I
she
heard
was
that
having you.
story. My dad was at work, right?
I said, she says, Dad, don't drive so fast. I said, I have to get you there. Don't worry, I'm all right. I'm thinking, yeah, I got him though.
So she was 60. How old was Pa? How old did he live to?
Paul lived to be 80-some years old, didn't he? Paul lived to be 80-some years old.
Oh, when he died?
Yeah,
81.
81.
My mother was 60. The second stroke she had 15 years later, and like I said, she had it in the hospital 2 weeks, and she died. She was 60 years ago. She had her first stroke at 45.
But I never met Pa.
You must have met Pa. Yeah, you must have met
Maybe
Pa,
you
Joe.
probably did, because we had, we
Picnics and
pictured of
everything
his.
else, and you were old enough to remember.
Up at Uncle Menzies' house.
Yeah. Yeah, you met Pa.
You like him,
Sure.
he was real, and he knew how to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And me, I learned how to build from an army book. And a book in the army, how to build your own place. That's why I learned how to build. I do everything.
And you built your place up there?
I built 6 of them.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
I built one 4-unit apartment.
Out of cinder blocks or what?
Well, for the foundation, cinder blocks. And I poured all my own cement. We put our own cement. And when I built another place, the first one was 4-bedroom. Second one was the garage. And then I built one hour block, which we live over now. But I'm not the type that wastes his money if I could help it.
Yeah, I'm
We
the
didn't
same
have
way.
it anyway. We had 6 kids. But when I was building it, my father told me about in Pittston, some big trailer went off the road. He found these big beams. If you ever come up, I'll show you. These big beams he had. You weren't with us that time, no. I borrowed the truck. They've been there 4 years, right behind the state trooper barracks. I borrowed a truck from work, an 18-foot body. These beams were 24 foot long, and 16 inches by 5 inches.
Wow.
And we went down and got them. And when we went down there, we had the burning outfit when one of the guys got the place on fire. Right behind the barracks. We had our helmets on, and the state troopers going by,
Lucky
didn't
you
know
had
anybody.
helmets on. They thought you were
Yeah, they
legitimate.
thought we were construction workers.
Yeah.
And I took 3 beams. There was 6 of them there. I took 3. And and that's how we have in our garage.
Oh.
And that garage, when we poured the cement, me and Chrissy mostly, 18 yards of concrete, all by hand,
Wow.
with the cement mixer.
Wow.
And I didn't have the dump truck. We had a pickup truck, and Chris, I'll get it, Dad, I'll get it. And my wife, look at that kid, you're letting that kid do all that heavy work. Chrissy, a girl. I said, so what? She likes to do it. But anyway, she got to be top brass in school for the javelin. Well, she had the javelin, shot put, and 2-mile run. But her favorite was the javelin. She was good on all of them. But she wanted in 3rd place in state.
Wow.
And she was sick that day.
Wow.
I said, come on.
She could have probably got
Gold.
first place.
Yeah.
She still has the record in the school, 147 feet.
Wow. So we're all athletic, huh? All the Fortes.
Yeah, I went to the States too with the javelin.
Yeah.
I took first place in the districts.
I got
And
pictures
I
of
threw
that.
it 165 feet. And I didn't even come close to winning at the States. They were all big 6-footers, you know, I'm a small guy. I had to figure out how to throw it further than what I could possibly throw it.
Right.
And I figured out a way, but not that far. I
Yeah.
couldn't-
Chrissy, you couldn't beat her in arm wrestling.
Really?
She used to go with the guys.
She was a good athlete.
Yeah.
Chrissy, yeah.
She'll do anything for you. Has a heart of gold. In fact, she donated one of her kidneys
Wow.
to a person in Wilkes-Barre,
Wow.
35-year-old guy.
She didn't even know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Work yet? Well, the thing is, we were done working. She'd put the tools away, and I go look. I said, "What the hell did you do with this?" I said, "Never put back what I
Yeah.
had."
Yeah.
And she still does that. I
Yeah.
think she does it just to hear me out. She's in Mississippi.
Mhm.
Powerful. Well, she is
So
powerful.
when you gonna go on your trip, Joe?
So I'm gonna go Friday, and
Where you going?
well, I'm gonna save the big trip for when I have more time.
Right.
I'm gonna do this trip from the Francis E. Walter Dam, 115.
Yeah, we've been up there. We were
Uh-huh.
up there.
I'm gonna go from there to the Delaware
Okay.
on the river. I'm gonna do the whole Lehigh.
The Lehigh.
Yeah. And then next year, or when I have more time, probably next year, I want to do the section of Susquehanna where you grew up,
Oh, you'd love that.
Yeah.
I've been all over the
That's
Susquehanna.
a beautiful river.
and then I want to go from the Susquehanna over Wyoming Mountain and get on the Lehigh
Right.
and take the Lehigh down to the Delaware.
Okay. Getting back to the Susquehanna, you ever go at that fort, 40 Fort? Who the hell was the guy that marched that way?
Sullivan.
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 Sullivan's March. They have flags every so often all the way to New York.
Yeah,
Yeah. I took my grandkid on that trip.
on that hike. Oh, on that
All along the Susquehanna, where he camped, and
camping on the river.
yeah, and then they have a thing 4th of July in Wyoming. That's where the monument is. They have a big thing that explains and what they did and who died, all the names,
Mhm.
and all the underneath the monument is where they buried the bones of some of the soldiers.
Mhm.
And they only open it up once a year to show it.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's where they have one of the best pizzas in the world, right?
Very
The
good.
Victory
pizza.
Pig, they call it.
What's this place called?
It's a restaurant.
Victor
They have,
Pig.
Victor Pig.
the Victory Pig, no meat.
Is
But
it
buddy, you can't find better pizza.
near the river?
Yeah.
No, well, it's not
Yeah,
near
not
the
too
river.
far. In fact, they have dikes built because in the flood, it flooded all the buildings.
Yeah, I know where the dikes are.
Yeah,
This is the Victor Pig, and right here used to be an airport. Used to be like a civilian airport.
44th Airport.
And across there is the river. But that's,
Oh, I know where the airport is. I know what airport you're talking
yeah.
about. Right across from Wilkes-Barre, right?
No,
Like across the river.
Wilkes-Barre will be down farther. This is going to be this is going to be in 44th.
Oh,
In 44th. Is it 44th or West Wyoming?
Wyoming.
West Wyoming.
No,
Just-
Wyoming. West Wyoming is up towards
Oh,
the
this
mountains.
is just the Wyoming?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wyoming.
how far of a walk off the river would it be?
It's right across from the shopping center, right across from
Well,
the dike.
it's a big walk from the river, man, to the Victory Pig.
To walk to it. If I parked my boat. If I park my boat, can I walk and go get some
Oh,
pizza?
yeah. Yeah, but like I say, you gotta go over the dikes.
Yeah, and you're gonna have
Flood control.
You won't be able to do that, Joe. It's pretty far. Plus, who's gonna watch your boat?
Oh. Next time I'm up there, I'll have to go to the pizza place.
Yeah, you have to go to
You-
Pizza Pig.
Maybe I'll
can't
get
do
it
it.
before I put in on the
Yeah.
river
You're right.
and take it with me.
That's better.
And
Yeah.
you can't stop eating it. What's gonna happen? You're gonna wind up throwing up because you ate too much.